Hi, everybody. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about visualization a little bit. I know that for some of you, it is a challenge to determine an interpretation, and while you're signing that, still be kind of visualizing the scene. Take it slowly, one message at a time. So, like last week's narrative, kind of take a piece of it, take a piece of that scene, and just like imagine the part about turning left at the light. Sit in the moment, right? Have your classifier there, and like right now, even as I'm talking to you, I'm transported mentally to that intersection. So you do the same thing. You have your classifier there. You're imagining the intersection. You're imagining yourself trying to turn left, and you've got cars coming, and you're looking. Oh, nope, more cars are coming. More cars are coming. So don't just so. What I mean is create a separate activity where you take a couple of these scenes and you just sit in them. I hate to sound, sort of, airy and foo-foo about this, but I'm kind of a little bit of a yogi at heart anyway. So you really kind of soak in the moment where you're sitting on the intersection and you're just signing some of the signs, and you see yourself looking for other cars. Really try to see it and come back, and maybe you see more cars. Maybe now, nope, no cars, and you see it. You actually see that there's no cars except for that one car in the distance way back there. No big deal. Okay, and then do it again, right? Put yourself at the intersection again. And then you want to turn left, but you sit there and you're waiting, and there's a car coming, and again make sure that you're visualizing it all the way through, and then you do the same scene again and you visualize it. Make sure that you're seeing, not just thinking, and I use this classifier, and then this happens, and then I'm supposed to do this with the car, and it's supposed to, but just sit and really see it and feel it, and feel yourself looking to see if there's any cars coming. Nope. Nobody's coming. I'm good. One car. You know what I mean? Really do it a few times, and make sure that each time you do it, you're visualizing as vividly as possible. It takes a long time to improve visualization skills. I know for me, even when I got certified, from there till now, my visualization skills have improved drastically, and even still, I'm not a highly visual person. So we all are on different levels, but really, really visualizing, at least even visualizing a portion of a scene, has a dramatic impact on the interpretation if you're processing in the right way. Okay, if you're processing in the right way and actually using your visualization to create the interpretation, rather than what many of us do is we hear something and we go, how do I sign that? How do I sign that? How do I sign that? Rather than processing the message, okay? If you process and get to visualization, create an interpretation from what you see is the ideal way to interpret. Okay. Next thing is Byron Bridges' video. I was asked about the sign he uses at 38 seconds. He uses this hand shape, not this hand shape, but this hand shape, and he comes from the nose and he does this. It's a sign that comes from, it's a derivative of the sign bored or boring, but it actually means like ugh, sick of, tired of, that kind of feeling. And so what he's saying is like, I don't want to deal with a manual transmission anymore. I just want an automatic. All right. And he uses this to mean like ugged or tired of a manual. Okay. When you submit questions, it's a good idea to add your last name, because sometimes I actually will just shoot you an email directly and not reply in this. It depends on the type of question and how well I think it applies to everybody. But just include your last name. It's just best case scenario. Unless I know you, or unless you have a unique name that you don't have to. Okay. Activity number 1, the bells and whistles. Keep in mind that I use bells and whistles, but there are many other ways you could describe having power everything inside your car. Like, for instance, saying having power everything, or fully equipped, or the full power package. I don't know what they say, but there are lots of different ways somebody could describe having power everything inside your car. So don't think of his expansion to be used for bells and whistles, because it can mean any of those ways somebody can describe having a sleek car with power this and power that. All right. In his video, it's the buying a car video, he does this expansion at both 44 seconds and at 142. So if you didn't see both of them, or you don't remember both of them, go back and take a look at both of them, okay? A good way to start it is the way he starts it, which is something like inside, have, and he spells power. And the great thing about that is it sets the scene. So he says it's basically the describe, then do expansion technique. He says it, he describes it, and then he does it, and he shows all the power. He clicks on this and that. Maybe this and that are the stereo system. Maybe not for a deaf guy, but for me, I'm thinking the stereo's over here. He's clicking here and here. He clicks and the window goes down. He clicks here, the sunroof goes open. This feeling of just nice, easy breezy power everything. He also does an expansion for cruise control. So he does click over here, gas pedal goes down, sits back, drives, lazy, something like that. I saw somebody add to their expansion of cruise control, they added the speedometer getting to a certain point and then continuing there. And I thought that was a really great addition to his expansion of cruise control. I do want to point out one thing he does, and I think it's when he does it the second time at 142. He does a quick version of this, but he also does have. And have is a great thing to recognize because it's it can be used in a lot of different contexts. So what he means by have and is he means it has this and that and this and that. It has all the things that I was wanting. It has that and has that and has that and has that, right? Inside the car, oh, it has that, oh, has that. That's what he means by have. And so watch him do that again, please. Take note of that, because that repeating of a sign can be used in so many different ways. For example, if you wanted to convey the idea that somebody likes to eat everything, like does not have discriminating taste in food, right? Has a very, broad palate, and I'm thinking just different ways we say that in English because it could apply to any of these different ways we phrase that kind of sentence. There's somebody who will eat anything, willing to eat anything. Maybe you have a couple of kids and one of them is willing to eat anything and one of them will only eat chicken nuggets. Okay, so this idea that I just described in many different ways could be signed. And remember, one of the times I said that, I said somebody who does not have a discriminating palate. Right, so that's sort of like high level English for this simple idea of somebody who just eats anything. And so if you heard that, you might go, oh my goodness, what's a sign for a discriminating palate, right? But what we do is we process that, or somebody who doesn't have a discriminating palate, we process that to think, what does that mean? It means somebody who likes anything. And then so you may sign that as something like, or think delicious, or something like that. So repeating a sign could be used in many, many different contexts. In the same way that his have is saying it has this, it has that, it has this, it has that. The like is saying I like this, I like that, I like this, I like that, right? Or, if you think of it as it has all the things, right? I like all the things. However you want to phrase it, it's the same exact idea. And it could be used with many other verbs than just those two. All right? Number 2, head-on collision. In the red car video, she shows it twice. So she first shows seeing the car approaching kind of slow motion as the time starts to slow for her, and then the cars, I know it looks funny on the video way I'm doing this. There we go, that's better. Okay, approaching. The first time she does it, the car just approaches, then she blacks out and has her little out of body experience, where she thinks about all the what ifs you know, I don't have my seatbelt on, and oh my goodness, all these things, I'm not gonna be able to swim, I'm not gonna be able to this, that. And then she comes to, has the car accident, and later she shows the actual collision. So you want to make sure that you see her actually collide and recognize that this is not the collision yet. This is just the car approaching before she has her, out of body thing. In that same video, she shows a shattered windshield, and so she says the window, and then she goes. And so if you can imagine a shattered window, there are these really strong lines, like the glass shatters, and there are some really, really strong lines in the glass when it shatters. But there's also those loads and loads of little like spider veins, tiny little spider veins. So she does, and then she shows all the little spider veins, and then she shows the extent, how extensive this shatter is all the way around. When you do that, make sure your fingers don't curve at the end, because the glass it stays very, very strong all the way through. And just go down as far as your arms will allow you to. I know it's an awkward position, but don't bend your fingers. That's at 2:28 in that video, the red car accident video. And then the crashing in the snow, she shows herself being a cool, I think she says she's 16 when this happened, and she gets to back out of the spot, and then she spins, and then she sees white. The car's spinning around, all she sees is white, and then she slams into the snowbank. When she gets out of the car, she sees the hood of the car stuck into the snow like this. So just to note that classifier, that could maybe be, you might, I don't know. There's different ways, different things that you could use it in other contexts for. So just note that. And that's all for that. Let's go ahead and start on the narrative. Okay, now the narrative. So we have the first sentence. This other time, I had just bought a new used car. I was so excited because it was my first modern car with, power windows and everything. So first of all, overall, y'all as a group are already using classifiers so much more accurately. So really, really nice job with the whole narrative, really the whole group. So we have a couple of different chunks of meaning here. So we have the transition, of course. This other time is what the narrative says. So it could be, I saw this, meaning like the last story is done. Now the new story, just jumping right into that. I would probably assign, another story. You could even simply just start with another, like you could go, showing that, I got another one for you, that kind of thing. So that's the transition. Then we have, I had just bought a new used car. So what she's saying there is she bought a used car that was new to her, okay? A used car that was new to her. Now, I was pleasantly surprised at surprised or impressed by how many of you guys remembered what the guy from the honking video, I don't remember what it's called, but he buys a car, and then the horn's not working, and he's honking, all the way through town. That video at the very beginning, the signer tells us that it's a used car. And so he signs something like, he fingerspells used, which is very common. This is a sign for used, but it's a regional sign. You more often see used fingerspelled. And then he also expands a little bit by saying in the past, so before, so used before. So actually he does more than that. He does Okay, so that's how he expands on the idea of used. Of course, you don't have to use all of that for used, but make sure you recognize that and pick and choose to see what might work in this context, and make a mental note that he gave us a lot there. So the idea of used, before, he signs before like this, either way is fine. Before used finish, meaning somebody used it prior to him buying it. And also, even just recognizing that fingerspelled used is a potential possibility too, depending upon obviously who our consumer is. Our consumers' language needs are always what is the determining factor of what we need to do as far as expansions. Okay. Okay. Even something like I saw someone do, just say a quote new car, and that doesn't quite convey it, but that could be a great way, that could be used in conjunction with some other signs, like something like new, really used. That could work, new, really used car. That could work. So anyway, just recognizing that he gave us a lot there to play with is helpful. So what you might do is, you could even do what I have written here is, I just bought a car, new, and I'm shifting over, I just bought a car, not new, okay? Not new, and then used before, all right? And you could even do, for me, new, okay? So that even still might be more than what's needed, but some of that could work. You could do, I just bought a car, for me, new, really used. Anything like that could work. Okay, moving right along. The next part of it is, I was so excited because it's my first modern car with, power windows and everything. So a lot of interpretations ended up saying, I was excited because it had power windows, or it was my first car with power windows. But she says, power windows and everything. So what she's saying there is her way of saying it had all the stuff, right? It had all the stuff. You can certainly include power windows in there, but it's not, it didn't just have power windows. You want to make sure that you show that it had all kinds of fancy stuff, including the power windows. And that can just be signed with just showing that it had all these like cool things inside the car, including the power windows. All right. Where are we here? So it was my first modern car. It was my first modern car with, power windows and everything. So you could do understand, a transition into this section of the sentence. Understand, up until now, my car's old, roll down. Power, window. Okay, so that can be the idea of, it was my first modern car, meaning before that I had an old car that you had to do this with, okay? Power. Okay, so that's one way that you could show the modern car versus the old car that was more used to. And we're making, and although she doesn't explicitly say, I only had old cars with roll down windows before, the fact that she says it was my first modern car implies that all previous cars didn't have the fancy power stuff inside it. Okay? Sentence number 2. I drove it to the mountains and took a scenic drive that circled up and down this beautiful mountain range on a tight 2-lane road along the mountain at cliff edge. Okay, there's a lot of details in there. What's the most important? What do we really need to say about this? She drove it to the mountains, and it was a tight road, and it was along a cliff edge. Okay, the stuff about scenic drive, took a scenic drive that circled up and down this beautiful mountain range. 13 words can really just be, I'm not saying we should omit those 13 words, but driving around, looking at beautiful scenery, up and around, curving around the mountains, there are just a few things that are needed to be in there to convey that whole idea. Okay, driving around the mountains, looking at everything, how beautiful it is. That could be all you really need. But there are also different ways you could do that. So you could show that the road winds around the mountains. You can show the car winding around the mountains. Certainly looking at how beautiful everything is. It's beautiful, or wow. So you want to incorporate the fact that it's, the reason why she's doing this is because she wants to see the beauty there. So the beauty, and the fact that, it's driving around the mountain. So once again, couple of ways, showing the roads, driving around the mountains. What did I do? Driving up. This shows like the road, going up and around the road. I really like this classifier a lot, showing the car going around the curve of the road. Okay, so my point in all of that was just to say that there's a lot of that sentence that only really needs a couple of points. The most important elements are the fact that she went to the mountain. So I drove to the mountain. So that's that. Remember, it's I drive to mountain, not I driving mountain. Okay? I drove to the mountains, and then you start to show it. The roads wind, driving around, beautiful. Okay, so you start depicting. But I drove to mountain, not I driving mountain. Okay, where was I? Okay, drove to the mountains, scenic drive, circled up and down, so we already talked about that. This beautiful mountain range, already did all that. On a tight 2-lane road along the cliff edge. So of course this is important because this is the way the story kind of centers on these points. So tight 2-lane road. You could say the road. I always do this wrong way. The road very tight, so it means only one car can come either direction. The road, you could do that. You could show the cars coming this way, tight. Okay. You could say the road is narrow. You could do that. And then we have along the cliff edge. So you could say it's a sharp drop. Okay, so you're just showing the drop off. You could also show yourself going around the curve and then looking over and you could you could show yourself looking over and you can say far, like it's a far drop. I'm not so crazy about that for some reason, but I think just looking is enough. So driving around and looking over, that's it. That is, I think conveys it a little bit better. Okay, let me just make sure I've got all this in there. Yep. Okay. All right, next sentence. So we have, so I was going up this mountain around a tight curve, and a guy was coming down the mountain straight at me on the wrong side of the road. There's a lot of words in there, but all of that can really be condensed into just a few classifiers. So I was coming around a tight curve, so me coming around a tight curve or coming around a tight curve, okay? So either way, coming around or coming around. I'm going to do it this way. Another car was coming straight at me. All right? Coming straight at me. And then it says on the wrong side of the road. So you can do something, and most people did this. On the wrong side of the road means it is here, not right at me. Okay? So show clearly right here, like where it's supposed to be, and you can even have it coming further away. So it's coming at me here, not right at me. Okay, so a lot of times what I see that makes the interpretations look fuzzy is the signs are too rapidly, not everybody does this, but are not deliberate enough. They're just, but you can take your time and say, another car coming at me. Here, not coming right at me. Really think about each sign and each movement and make each one deliberate. Okay. That's it for that one. That's all. Coming round. Yeah. Sentence 4. I couldn't swerve because I was just a couple of inches from a sheer drop off. So he drove right into me. All right. And so this really is all one idea. And when it's, so it makes it's easier for us to retain. She's just saying, I couldn't get around him because, whoop, mountain right there. Okay, so you could do swerve, so he's coming at, swerve, getting around, impossible, or can't, or stuck. Maybe not stuck. Maybe stuck fits a little bit later. But going around him or swerving, or both of them, impossible. And then you're going to show the cliff edge. The road, straight down. Okay? And then you could show stuck. So he hit me. That's it. Sentence 5. In those seconds before the crash, I was sure he was going to push me and my new car right off the mountain. Now, I do want to talk about something before I talk about this sentence. What always happens when I include inspiration videos or where I want people to actually take and incorporate elements is that people, and no fault of their own, trying to incorporate a lot as much as possible, end up incorporating things that don't end up, it's a stretch. End up incorporating things that don't end up matching. For example, for this sentence, this is similar to in the red car accident video where she's talking about time slowing down and having this out-of-body experience and thinking about all these what ifs, wheelchair and breaking my spine and all these things she says. But in this narrative, she doesn't say anything about time slowing down. All she says is, in those seconds before the crash, I was sure he was going to push me off the mountain. Like, the car's coming and she's like, I'm gone. I'm a goner. Right? So she doesn't say anything about time slowing down or having this like deep out of body, thought thing. So all of what she does doesn't quite fit, but you could certainly use maybe this, or I think she does this, doing that would certainly work. So parts of what she does absolutely works, but the time slowing down part and a lot of what she does doesn't fit the narrative. But it's really, really great anyway to be recognizing things and to be incorporating as much as you can. It inevitably happens every time I use inspiration videos. A lot of people will pick things that don't actually fit in an effort to, they're like, did Nicole think that should we have used this and not, no. Okay, so that aside, she says, in those seconds before the crash, be careful about trying to get in every word. The words in those seconds, it's similar to where she spun out in the narrative was, she stopped in the middle of the road. In the middle of the road, we knew it was in the middle of the road because when she looks to the left, there's a car coming at her. So that means she was in the middle of the road. In this case, if we say right before the crash or it's coming, or even just signing the car's coming, boom. Like immediately I thought of crash, fall off the mountain, finish, will. You could do just showing that means it's seconds before the crash. If a car's coming right at you, you only have seconds before he's going to hit you, right? So all of that's understood. The same as with the car, middle of the road, understood. So by signing right before the crash, like you're signing hit, he hits me right before I hit. Sorry, I'm trying to get myself right in the camera. Hit, fall off the mountain, finish, will. That works fine. Or you could do as he's coming. Oh, you can't do. I just said that you could say as he's coming. Yeah, you could actually do that. So what you could do also is the sentence before this says, so he hit me, right? So you just did, boom, he hit me. And then you can do, in those seconds before the crash, I thought I was gonna go off the mountain. You could go back to, as he was coming, this is eyebrows up, as he was coming toward me, boom, hit, fall, die, finish, whatever. And then you could say, oh, that's the end of it, isn't it? Let me just double check. Off the mountain. So it's a terrible ending of a narrative. I'm sorry about that. I had another sentence and it got too long, and so I cut it. But so it's just it ends with falling off the mountain. Falling off the mountain, finish, and that would be the end. So anyway, both of those versions of the interpretation take into account that it's seconds before the crash, and so you don't have to put that in there. A few seconds before, or 10 seconds, you don't have to put any of that in there. It's understood. Okay, that is it. Like I said, you guys are doing an awesome job. I'm already seeing a lot of people changing up their 3 classifiers for these classifiers, showing this. So great. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And I'll see you guys on Friday.